from the heart of Dubai, where tomorrow is being built today, to the world. Welcome to the CTO Show with Mehmet. Here, we redefine technology and reimagine possibilities. With Mehmet, delve into the riveting realms of AI, cybersecurity, and digital technology. Experience the thrilling highs and lows of startups. Immerse yourself in the spirit of entrepreneurship and witness the future of business innovation being written in real time. Now, without further ado, let's tune in and explore the future.
Hello and welcome back to a new episode of the CTO Show with Mehmet. Today, I'm very pleased. Joining me, Jonathan Kvarfordt. He's the head of GTM growth at Momentum.io. Folks, you know by now, I don't steal much of my guests' slides, and I don't like to speak on their behalf because I have the theory which no one can introduce someone better than themselves. So, Jonathan, thank you for being here with me today. Before I pass it to you to give us a little bit more about you and your journey, what you're currently up to, we're gonna talk, as you can see, maybe from Jonathan title, GTM, go to market. This is an important topic, and this is, I talk also myself a lot about it. Whether you are a founder, of a startup, or maybe you are a, CEO of a scale up. This is something important, and in general, because I believe everyone should know about, these terms and about, sales, marketing, and everything. Without a further ado, Jonathan, thank you again. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Mehmet, for letting me be here. I appreciate it. So again, my name is Jonathan Kvarfordt. Some people call me Coach. It's a nickname I got and just is stuck. I know I need to change my title on this recording because it says Head of GTM Growth, but I literally just got a new title last week, which is VP of GTM Strategy and Marketing. So what I do for
Nice.
Momentum, I was a customer before 2.5 years ago. Loved the team in tech so much that I literally begged them to let me come on board. Thankfully, the team let me come on. And I've been leading marketing since February of this year, and it's going really well. So I'm kind of a weird duck because I sit in a lot of different places where I'm deep in the AI space because I have what's called the GTM AI Academy, where I've had 10,000 people plus go through to learn how to use AI in go-to-market roles from leaders down to AEs. And then I teach at Bryant University AI. I'm an advisor to several different companies helping you with both go-to-market and AI. I do prompt engineering for Momentum's product as well as marketing. So I'm kind of like a nitty-gritty nerd in some ways, and just love to be in shows like this and talk to people like you and just jam out on what's going with AI, what's good, what's bad, and all the goodness.
Great, and thank you again, Jonathan, for being here with me today. Now let's start, okay, and put the things on track. Now, you've seen firsthand how GTM has evolved, right? And things are moving fast. You mentioned AI also as well. So, what do you think, today are the biggest misconception revenue leaders still have about, I'm interested. I'm usually keep the AI later stage, but my feed is full, right, of using AI in GTM. I would love to hear your take, Jonathan.
Just where we are right now, you mean?
Yeah, yes. And how things evolved also in your opinion.
Yeah, it's an interesting discussion. So I feel like a lot of times there's this disparaging view because, as an example, back in April, the CEO of Shopify came out with the AI memo, which kind of sent these reverberations across the industry, where he said essentially that they're not going to hire anyone unless they know for sure that they can't do it with AI first, So it's a fascinating memo that kind of sent shockwaves through the business world, in my opinion. And then you have people like Duolingo who essentially said the same thing, where the Duolingo team's doing the same and trying to push AI instead of humans. Salesforce has come out and said they're 30 to 50% of their work is being done by AI. So you have all these marketing things happening to where people feel this pressure because of all these companies saying, hey, we're doing AI like crazy. And a lot of people are still struggling with the basics. So what I did is with Momentum, we're a data company. We looked into conversations that we had with people over the last, like from January to July. And we tore apart the conversations and figured out, okay, of all these sales conversations we're having, all about AI, by the way, various companies, various industries, different sizes, different titles. And we found some patterns. So McKinsey reports that 78% of companies have done some sort of AI adoption of some kind, which in my mind usually comes down to like a Copilot license rollout or ChatGPT licenses or something, but it's not. It all depends on a human prompting something to get the AI adoption. And I know from just teaching prompting that most people don't know how to prompt, which is not a bad thing, or I shouldn't say it's not a diss. We've never been taught how to prompt. So I know for a fact that a lot of the AI adoption is not showing good ROI because people aren't taught of how to do it. And I personally believe a lot of AI power can be experienced from not having a human adopt it in the first place. So, anyways, our data showed of 1,000 companies we talked to, from 50 employees up to 10,000 plus employees, 7% have what we call operational AI. So every time I talk to someone, it's the basic fundamental items they need to automate or use AI for that they're not, because they're just using it as a chatbot, you know? So even though the market is saying how advanced we are, and the AI space is like crazy because it's advancing so fast, there's so many capabilities, but it's not, the actuality or the reality is that most people are still are struggling with the basics of how do I get this to be involved operationally. Does that make sense? Which is good for me, because from a momentum point of view, that's what we do, is we help with the fundamentals and automating the process. But it's, people are still like very, very, very new to the world of getting it into their systems and process.
Right. Jonathan, I'm going to ask you something. And I work in sales myself, and somehow I'm still involved in different perspective, let's call it this way.
Sure.
So things that, I want to go a little bit back in
Sure.
history, like a little bit. And because I want to tackle the point of the data, right? So back in the days and not long ago, any sales op team, and of course the leadership, the sales leadership, from the CRO all the way down to frontline managers, we were using like different systems, right? So relying on dashboards to forecast, take decisions, um, and try to see what should we doing next. Now with this new, I would say, um, AI push, right? If people and we used to hear, like, some organization used to struggle despite
Mhm.
having the latest and greatest when it comes to the dashboards and all these
Right.
nice reports. Now with this AI, like, how me as probably maybe a CEO, or maybe I'm a CRO who's trying to see what I should do next, right? To have this shift from just dashboards, to insights, and making sure that I'm able to see what matters. Plus, how do I make sure that my main, I would say, component of making everything we talk about working is the data, to make sure, like, also I have the required data in my systems that allows me to have better GTM.
Yes.
I know it's a
Um,
loaded question, but
it's loaded. So you're essentially asking me, where does someone start, essentially?
yeah.
So I have a very opinionated opinion on this. So I get people all the time who come to me and say, "Hey, Coach John, what should I buy? What AI tech should I buy?" And to me,
Hmm.
that's asking what, it's trying to start at step 5 as step 1, and there's 4 steps that have to come before that, if that makes any sense. Only because buying an AI tech, just to buy an AI tech, is a waste of time and money, because we don't know if it's getting pointed at the right challenge and initiative to make sure there's ROI. Does that make sense? So for me,
Hmm.
it's all about understanding first. Like, a lot of people out there are saying, focus on your problems. My challenge with focusing on problems is that there's no shortage of problems. Everyone has a bajillion problems. The question is, what's the priority? And priorities get defined by initiatives. So, for example, if I'm a company, I have 100 million in revenue, and I have been given the task to grow by 25% in the next year, I have to go to 100 to 125. That means my metrics have to change. Like, for example, my ACV, number of opportunities, win ratio, and sales cycle, those have to change in order for me to get there. So the question is really understanding, where are we at now? Where's the gap? And what levers do we feel like we can pull to get there? And it could be something in CS. It could be we got to reduce our churn by a certain percentage, or we have to do more upsells, or whatever the case is. But what's the business initiative? Where's the gap analysis of where the problem is metric wise, and then understanding where is the friction. Is it based on the data? Is it a lack of skill? Is it a lack of process? Like what is happening right now to make that not happen? And then you aim AI at that problem, because then it has a priority to it and it has ROI to it. It's not easy to do. It requires a lot of what people call unsexy work, because no one gets on LinkedIn and says, "Hey, I just mapped out 30 workflows." That no one cares about that. What they care about is what I did is I aimed an AI agent at this problem and had this result. That's what people talk about. But it requires the unsexy work of understanding where the heck is the data, what is the humans doing, what's the step-by-step task process, and that's very time-consuming to do. And AI can absolutely help, but humans have to direct that process. So that's one side. And the second part of it is we're in this world where everything's changing. So you have two options. You can either do what you've done in the past, the same process, same skills, same stuff, better, faster, easier, cheaper with AI, or the new world is thinking about first principles. Where are we going? And is the old way of doing things the right way? And can we do something different and better with AI than we wouldn't have done before? So it's understanding which way do we go? And that's up to every leader to decide on where they want to, which track they want to go down. But I think it's important to be aware of there's different ways of doing things now more than ever, and it requires humans to make sure that they have an understanding of where to direct that power, whether it's doing the old stuff faster or doing something totally new.
Cool. Jonathan, I know like at Momentum, you did something which might look for some people, yeah, you know, new or maybe like controversial. I don't know. Like maybe they find it weird, which is you made it a Slack native. Now,
Mhm.
why do you believe Slack and maybe other chat platforms in general are now the operating system for GTM teams?
Well, interesting enough, I think that this operating system concept is going to be where the battle will be, because as you see, if you use ChatGPT or Claude, like the desktop or the interfaces they have, they're doing what's called MCP connectors on the back end, where they're connecting to every major platform you have. And then people are running their businesses through ChatGPT or through Claude or through some sort of AI interface. Now, Slack is nice because it has more connections anywhere else. It has your team there. So I personally think right now what I'm using more than anything is Slack, because I can have multiple agents talking inside of Slack and I can operate the whole thing from there. And if you think about it from a revenue point of view, thinking large scope, how past companies used to dictate their value was by requiring people to opt in or to have a tab open or to use the technology by being in the tech. The challenge was for sales or CS people, that meant they had to have 20 different tabs open. They had to understand how to use every single one of those tabs and then do their job on top of all those tabs. Like that's how they showed adoption, was we have people inside of our technology. The new world is totally backwards from that. It's where it should be, which is saying, where is the human at most of the time? Is it email? Is it Salesforce? Is it Slack? Whatever it might be. And how do we go to the human in their workflow? So instead of requiring them to opt into anywhere, we're going to them. So it means that the adoption needed is much, much lower. It automatically pops up things like with Momentum. We pop up things to people all the time, whether it's a team leader or whether it's an individual or whether it's the CEO. We communicate what's important to the right person at the right time for the right reason. So, and that way, it doesn't require anyone logging into anything. We just go to you when it proactively happens. Does that make sense? So, it's really changing the paradigm of thinking, instead of someone logging into 20 different platforms, how do we make it so there's one place to go where everything coincides and makes it really easy for the human to interact with however many agents you have, so they can do their work and spend more time in doing what they're supposed to do in the first place.
This is a good I would say direction for I believe any company to start think about this way, right? So this is again, the goal is to streamline and eliminate friction. Now talking about that, now where do you see, for example, what's called now RevOps, right? So where do you see most RevOps leaders trying to also kind of over complicate or over engineer their tech stacks, and while they could just simplify it instead.
Give that question one more time.
I will. So I'm saying, like, with what's happening and people trying to eliminate, like, where do you see most RevOps leaders trying of over engineering tech stacks instead of going and simplifying things? So do you think, like, just because they think like the more systems and the more procedures and the more things they do, kind of, I don't know, save their jobs, or is it like because they think the more systems is the better results? While I've seen like people talking about simplifying the tech stack and simplifying the processes. My question, in another sense, like, why we feel like still RevOps is kind of shown as a complex process.
Yeah, I don't think it's I've worked with many, many amazingly talented and strategic RevOps leaders. I don't think RevOps leaders are the problem. I think they're the receiver of requests from a CRO, from sales, from whatever. Like, here's the reality of what happens. You'll have different teams who buy different technologies for different reasons. And there's no one central person connecting the dots to make sure the systems, the tools are working in conjunction with the rest of the team. So you have CS that buys 5 different tools. You have marketing that buys whatever tools. You have sales that buys whatever tools. And there's no one in the center making sure they connect the dots. RevOps is that person. So it's not their fault. There's a bunch of systems. They're trying to make sense of all the chaos that's happening. So I think that it needs to have more, not necessarily governance, but at least a say in what happens and be involved with it, because RevOps to me, and enablement too, for that matter, should be that central mechanism to make sure that whatever marketing is doing is connecting to sales, it connects to CS, that make sure the system as a whole is working. And they don't usually, and it's not because they don't want to, it's because their teams are off going to do their own thing, and there's no centralized way of thinking. And I think AI is one way to force people in a good way. Like, I say that forcing because it requires data from different technologies in the process to make sure it functions well. The challenge is that most RevOps people are not AI experts. So they're not, they know systems, they know process, but they don't know AI, which is a little bit of a wrench in the in the engine. So I think a lot of people just need to be aware of what AI can do, but the skill is RevOps all the way. They know how to work it. They just got to get updated on AI. They can do the rest.
Right. So we know, like, the also Jonathan, that there are like teams still living in spreadsheets and chasing whatever CRM, Salesforce, HubSpot, whatever that hygiene. So if they are like little still stuck there, where they should start?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's 2 ways of thought around this. Like, there's the bottoms up and then top down. So top down is what I told you before. We have a strategic initiative and then kind of go backwards from there and figure out what the problems are. That it's harder work to do, but I still think it's the most worthwhile place to go, because you could go bottoms up and you can give everyone ChatGPT licenses, which can have good results. But the problem is it requires on someone's skill of prompting. You don't know what's going on because it's a black box and everyone's chatting with their own AI somewhere. And then like, if I gave a sales rep, let's just say they committed themselves and became an amazing prompter, which would be awesome. Even at that level, they don't have the height or the view to understand like what else is happening across the team and what could be cross-functionally given to everyone else. So I still think it requires someone in the center kind of making sure that's aligned to initiatives. Now, with that being said, the lowest hanging fruit, in my opinion, right now with AI is anything that has to do with time. So we spend so much time with little piddly do stuff. Like, for example, a sales rep, all the studies in the world show that most people spend 25 to 30% of their time actually doing something that's revenue generating. All the other 70% is spent wasted on trying to find content, CRM data entry, internal meetings, updating everyone else. Like, there's all this wasted time. If all someone did was hyper focus on how do I automate and make my team as efficient as possible, if that's all they did, they'd have light years of a difference as a result. So one of our customers is Kyle Norton,
Mhm.
and he uses Momentum as well. He uses a bunch of different tech. So we're one of his core technologies that helps automate. But his team used to have like $1 million per person, like revenue or quota, I can't remember the number is, but now it's 3 times that. Same person, 3 times the output. And all he did was just look at what their day-to-day is and say, how do I automate as much of this as possible? And that's one way I think people don't go to. They think I can just buy an AI and it's going to solve all my problems. But Kyle did the unsexy work of figuring out what's the process, what's the tasks, what data is connecting, what's not connecting. How do I make this as easy as possible for my sales reps? And now he's getting 3 times the output, which in and of itself becomes a moat because it's hard work to do for your specific company. And the more you're willing to do it, the faster you can go as a result, which you can outcompete people because for your competitor who has, 30% of their time revenue gen activities and you're doing 70, you're 3 timesing their output. So it's understanding that doing the hard work is very worthwhile.
Right. Now, another thing, and Jonathan, I'm not sure if it was like a coincidence or how this happened. Um, I was curious to know how what we call the GTM playbooks are also going to change, or actually they are changing as we speak, right?
They are, yeah.
Yeah. So you know there were known things that we used to do. So both from, I would say, interest, generating activities, a company does, or whether it's like how we drive the whole process over there. And I did some research, and honestly, I use AI, but again, I cross checked all the statistics, and I was not shocked, but some numbers, it like was a little bit surprising that they are so high. Now, as people working in the sales organization, so our goal, of course, we need to find customers, the right customers,
Yep.
do the sales, and close that loop. Now, one thing which struck with me is now from buyer's side, things are changing also as well, right? So buyers are using themselves AI to find solutions. Now, with this different conditions, let's call them this way, that they were before a chat GPT or Gemini or whatever tools you're using world, things were
Mhm.
different. So we used to have, the non playbooks, let's say, gated content. We used to track like certain metrics. So
Right.
how AI is changing, these playbooks today, like what kind of new playbooks we should have there, and which kind of metrics really we should be as sales organization laser focused on.
Yeah, it's a good question. What's funny is that I still feel like again, if you go back to first principle thinking, there are concepts and core principles that still apply even in the AI native world. It's really understanding how do you apply AI as a result or what's the impact of it. So a classic example of something that's major shifting right now is regular SEO or how people search with AEO. So Google's done a ton of crazy things. One is the Google overviews. And now they've limited AI's ability to look at different results from search results to 10 versus 100. So that means anything on the first page is more important now than ever. Then you have all these disparaging tools. You have ChatGPT, you have Gemini, you have Claude, you have Perplexity. You have all these different tools who all work a little bit different from each other on how they search for content. So it's one, changing how people are making decisions on tech or products or services that they're buying, and also changes the strategy for the people like myself who are trying to figure out how do we make sure that we pop up when those conversations are happening. So that's definitely a major shift in the marketing world. But there's also things like I would say I wouldn't do any differently before. Like if I was charge of a marketing team or for our company 10 years ago, I'd still be doing the same concepts I'm doing now, which is I'm major focused in on who am I talking to, what's important to them, how can I provide value to them so that whether they work with me or not, they trust the brand, they trust me, they trust the content, and they're getting value from me as a result of it. You know, so I don't know if that answers your question, but to me, it's all about first principle thinking of where you're at, what you're trying to provide. And then it's all about where the heck is your ICP at? Where do they hang out? And go there and figure out ways of how you can provide value to that person or individual groups of individuals so that they can trust you as a brand and be more involved with you. And I wouldn't change
Now,
that if I had AI or not.
yeah, absolutely. But how also this should be, or is it being reflected on, you know, I think majority of the teams, they do it on Monday, some they do it on Tuesdays. These pipeline reviews and these
Yeah.
like how this should be now, which direction should be taking today? Should as I said, should be I still asking the same questions I was asking, 2 years or 3 years ago,
Um,
or things are changing and I need to question my team on different things than I used to ask about before.
yeah, I'll give you two different ones. So the current state is when you do pipeline reviews, most of the time it's a glorified Salesforce or HubSpot data entry party, because all
Mm-hmm.
you're doing is watching someone enter data. So it's not really a pipeline review, number one. And so in the new world with like Momentum, all the data is there. So our pipeline reviews are very strategic sessions. Like they're brainstorming on how do we win the deal. They're not data entry parties, So that change in and of itself is way different. And the metrics you're able to talk about and ask about are way different because you have the data. So that's just number one. And those metrics, by the way, are not anything new. They're just what we have been wanting for the last 10 years anyways. There is new world though of like AI signals where when you think about this world of when you have like third-party data from whatever technology you want to talk about, third party from Clay, from ZoomInfo, for whomever, and you have signals from product releases and PR and overall market trends and all this other stuff, and you mix that with first-party data coming from conversations, you get signals of different things. Those signals, I think, are very extremely powerful, and I think that pipeline reviews will shift ever so subtly so that it'll become more about what is the combination of signals that's happening inside of each deal versus what is the usual play, which is exit criteria of the sales process. So an example would be like, if we have signals, like if we're going to a key target account and we have external signals from whatever sources that are telling us like, hey, they're looking into competitors. Hey, they have this problem they just talked about at their last financial release of the quarter reports. Hey, this person just got hired, like all these key signals that get mixed. And then we mix that with our own first party data of saying, we know this about our ICP. We talked to these 3 people inside the company. We know they're primed. And so we know how to target them. Then the larger pipeline review will be asking about what is the signals looking like for each account. And then for all of the accounts at once in aggregate. So that's a way different conversation, very, very data-based, but extremely important because you'll be running your deals differently when you have this collection of signals coming from different sources that you can make better decisions on.
Makes sense, Jonathan. Now I gotta ask you also from your experience, like what have you seen like the most underrated automation that people, they think it doesn't matter, but you've seen like it delivers like the best or like outsized impact in the whole process?
It's really dumb and easy, but it's the bread and butter of Momentum. It's just CRM data entry. There are, I'll tell you many reasons why. There's like multiple layers. So we have asked humans to be this source. Like, let's just think about it from a different point of view, from CTO, from product, from marketing. Old world is we needed to have information on why did a customer buy? Why did we lose? What's the product information? How do they like it? And all the information came from the salesperson or the CS person. And then we got CI. So CI would come up and say, hey, we now have all these calls in the massive library, but no one has time to watch all that stuff. So again, they still have meetings with the sales rep or the CS person saying, why do we win? Why do we lose? What's the product feedback? And of course, that information is biased because the sales rep's not going to say, I sucked on the deal. They're going to say it was pricing, it was timing, So you get this, not that their opinion doesn't matter. It absolutely does, but they have self-protection mechanisms, which I don't blame them. I'd have the same thing. I did the same thing when I was a sales rep, So the data you have in the CRM, which most people aren't used to having, is so important. And it sounds so dumb and trivial, but it is so vital. Let me give you a few examples. There are 38 unique types of fields in Salesforce, something like that a human can put in. I don't mean 38 text fields. I mean 38 unique fields. checkboxes, pick lists, multi-pick lists, Boolean percentages, all these things that a human has to do. Most technology can do some sort of automation to like maybe 30-40% of it, but that still requires 50% of it or more to be done by the human. So just the time of doing it, number one, is a problem because you don't have revenue gen activities. Secondly is the data. So they always can't remember everything because most sales reps are going from call to call to call to call. And so the data they're putting in is okay. But if you have an AI that just auto updates things every time, then the sales rep has better data. They can go back and say, oh yeah, I had this conversation and they said this thing the AI gave me from last time, Then when you look at that from both one layer up of a manager and they have 10 reps who have 10 calls a day, that's 700 a week, whatever the case is, that's a lot of freaking calls to keep up on. So now AI can consume it all and then automatically give to the sales manager both how are they doing in performance? What's the product feedback we have? What's the analysis and intelligence I have in my patch? And then you go a layer above and say VP of sales, you have 15 managers, each one has 7 to 10 reps. You have all these calls happening. Now you have an idea of a pulse of what's happening across the board, and you can dig into any deal you want to without ever talking to a human, which is like insane. All because you have data inside the CRM, and it all starts with manual data entry, deal to deal, call to call. So there's all these consequences that happen as an effect. No one talks about it because no one's experienced it. So it drives me crazy because I'm like, you guys, you need the data for AI to do its power. And if you don't have that data first, everything else is just like, it doesn't matter. But once you have the data there, you can do some really, really cool stuff, both for AI and then for humans. Does that help, hopefully?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, regarding so you mentioned something important, Jonathan, here about, and by the way, uh, especially in case of lost deals, traditional answers in the win lose comments in Salesforce. So we know what we used to put, like, right? So when dark, missing features, these kinds of things. And yeah, to be frank, as you mentioned, like sometimes we feel like we need to be defensive. And this brings, the following. Now like with what you're doing at Momentum and with this automation and AI in place, um, what do you think the skills that we need to provide training for, or maybe I don't know, like they used to take us to different also workshops. We used to attend like these different, of course, other than the medic or medpic or all the
Yeah.
framework that we have. But what like other skills you think sales reps would need to be trained on so they can also get out of this old mentality that spend your time hygiene in Salesforce or like whatever CRM you use and this and that, and make sure like this is updated, because we used to hear this a lot. And I didn't do statistics, but I can say in 15 years I spent with either as a sales rep or as sales engineering helping other sales rep. So I can say like majority of the conversations with the managers is, hey, did you make sure that this is updated there? And sometimes you feel, there is some skills missing even with the traditional ways of doing things, like with the data entry and
Yeah.
all that. Now AI is gonna change this. So me as a sales rep, how should I be prepared, skills perspective, to deal with AI?
It's a good question. All kind of depends on what tools you have at your disposal. But to me, again, it comes if let's just think about it from another point of view of where we're going. At some point, the sales rep is going to be not doing all the piddly do stuff they have to do now, like data entry, like searching for content, all this other stuff. And they're going to become more of what they're supposed to be in the first place, which is a quarterback of deals and relationship builders. So to me, the core skills that people need to have is about emotional intelligence, strategic thinking, um, negotiation, conflict management, all these kind of things are very, very human, where you have to like deep dive and double down into, because let's just say, for example, you have 7 steps in your sales process and you can automate the first 3 with AI because AI does a discovery, AI does a demo, AI does the stuff, and then hands it off to a human. That's a whole different world where the skills of people needed are going to have to be the same as they are now, but deeper inside of those skills. Like if for example, we have a team of if the whole market could automate the first 3 stages of the sales process, then they have to be really freaking good at negotiation, because that's what they're going to be doing day in, day out, So it's not necessarily going to change anything. It's going to focus the skills more than anything.
Right. So it's back to basics, I call it, Jonathan, probably, right? So
Yes.
so this is the thing that what any account executive or sales rep should be doing day in, day out, um, talking to customers, being in the field. I gotta tell you one joke, and you know, it's not a joke; it's something fact. But they start to use my um, a term that whenever someone, we used to see these emails or someone say, "Hey, have you updated the CRM? Have you updated, the intelligence system that we're using?" I said, "Guys, let us go sell." And now all my friends, they use this whenever they see emails, whenever they are working. They say, "Hey, as Mehmet said, let us go sell. We don't want more,
Right.
systems to fill in, and people are
That's right.
hungry for the." Now,
They are.
I'm gonna ask you something probably related to this. So I was telling you before we start the recording, I focus also on, in addition to tech executives and tech companies. Part of people who are close to my heart are founders and tech entrepreneurs. Now,
Mhm.
for them, Jonathan, from your perspective, and you know, when does it make sense to them to start also implementing um, these systems, and of course start to automate it in their journey? Like, is it like when they start to hire, let's say, a VP of sales? Is it when the team reaches certain number of people in the sales organization? So what is the tipping point to start actually thinking about these processes and start automate them?
I now it doesn't matter where you are. Now is the time, because like things are moving so fast. Like, I know it sounds overwhelming, but now is the time. There's no too small or too big to start. It's now. So I believe personally, the smaller companies who begin now to do these kind of things can scale more efficiently than bigger companies. Bigger companies are going to have a major pain because they have all these processes, all this red tape, all these people they have to whittle down and get to. They're going to have a lot of pain going through this because there's more process. Smaller teams have a gift because they don't have as many people, don't have as many processes. They can become fine tuned really good by automating the bejeebies out of all the stuff they can, because the challenges right now, I'll give you an example. We have a framework called OAR, which means optimize, amplify, reinvent, or retransform.
Hmm.
Is all about time. Most large companies who have processes, it's about how do I optimize the time. Next one is amplify, so that you have AI doing things that is beyond just a time thing. Like, for example, when you have an AI that can automatically analyze and then coach team members, that's an amplification of a human skill. It's not a time saver. Does that make sense? It's amplifying it. And then reinvention is thinking about, what if we could totally reinvent this, where instead of RevOps doing territory planning, I have an AI do it for me. So the entire
Hmm.
thing is reinvented. So a challenge is bigger companies have to start with time savings, because most people can't just like revamp and change manage the whole thing at once, because that's a lot of change to happen with humans, and most people aren't equipped to do that. But with smaller companies, because you have smaller amount, you can start with reinvention because you haven't built all the processes and the chains, so to speak, to get you where you need to go. Like, bigger companies have all this crap they got to get off of them to automate. Smaller companies don't. So that's why I'm like, you need to start now, because no matter what size you are, your competition someone's going to be saying, I'm going to do the hard work now, and they'll have the dividends long term that you're not willing to do. It's the hard work of planting and seeding now that will have major fruits in the future, that people will say 10 months from now, I wish I would have done the hard work now to get where they are 10 months from now. So hopefully it helps.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, start yesterday, I tell people.
Yes. Now,
uh,
but if I can add to that though, I wouldn't want people to be stressed. It's like, just focus on what's right in front of you, one workflow at a time, and then
mhm.
making sure you have in the back of your mind, does this workflow point to revenue? Like, for example, would be, AI, there's a lot of tools out there that can auto create emails for you. Is
Mhm.
that going to be the biggest lift on revenue? Maybe, maybe not. But I ask that question of, is this AI thing that I'm doing, auto create emails, whatever, will that have an increase in my revenue or my pipeline or whatever metric you're looking at? If the answer is maybe, don't do it. It has to be like, heck yes, this is awesome. And once you find those heck yes use cases, do one at a time. And after a while, they start to stack on top of each other. And that's where we see a lot of results from.
Great. Jonathan, I know, and I'm transparent with my audience. We're recording on the 5th of November, and today you had a book launch. The
We
book
did.
is called Ignite, the GTM
Mhm.
Leaders Playbook for Building Insurmountable Competitive Advantage with AI. Tell
Yep.
me a little bit more about the book. Like, what was the motive, and what readers can expect from it.
Well, a long story short, my CEO, I was up on Saturday night, it was like in June or something last year, and I was geeking out at midnight with AI because that's what I do on the weekends. I just play with AI all weekend. Um, and my CEO is 3 hours ahead of me in Argentina, and he messaged me on Slack. He's like, "Hey, you up?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm up." He's like, "Hey, I have an idea. I want to write a book." I'm like, "Okay, cool." I thought he wanted me to write the book by myself. I'm like, I'm happy to. I don't know when I'm going to have time. Um, Thankfully, though, he came to me on Monday. He's like, "No, I don't want you to write the book. I want to get contributors to write the book." I'm like, "Great, I love it." So we are blessed to have an amazing network of advisors and customers and different people we're talking to, who are leaders in the space of GTM and AI. And so we found 28 to 29 people that we interviewed over 2 months.
Hmm.
Had half-hour to hour conversation with them all, and then we took all those learnings and things we got and found patterns of what they're doing to a framework that we now call intelligence architects, which is about really balancing how do you get human talent and power and balance it with AI. And more, it's not about saying, how do we get AI to replace humans? It's really about saying, what are humans really, really, really good at? And how do I amplify that? And what is AI really, really good at? And how do I use both at the same time? And you need someone in the middle, usually leaders now, who understand both. Instead of thinking, how do I replace the human? They're thinking, how do I amplify what the human's already doing? And how do I get all the crap off their plate so I can have AI do it in the meantime? And all the leaders in the book talk about is their own angle of how that happens throughout the customer journey. So from pipeline all the way to CS, they have just different thoughts on how to make that happen. And we put it together in a framework so you can kind of apply it to different parts of the process. So, anyways, I'm really excited about it. I could talk about this all day long. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and great work. And congratulations on the launch, Jonathan. And by the way,
Thank you.
this theme of having this collaboration between humans and AI kept repeating again and again, and looks like GTM is not different from any other domain or
Yeah.
expertise, because when I have CTOs and ask them about the AI in coding, same thing. Like you talk about AI in engineering, outside of coding, same thing. Like, and I think GTM is not different. And I tell people, like, use it with, it's not there to, and don't rely 100% on it, because still you are required there. You need the human touch, and at the same time, like, make sure that you are utilizing it, because if you don't do,
Right.
someone else is going and gonna use the AI and leverage what AI is capable to do. Now,
Exactly.
I don't like to do these prediction things, but
It's hard right now, dude. It's
no, no,
hard.
no. Yeah, I stopped. But a question that I discussed with someone, not long ago, and I was saying that I'm not saying like they will not exist, but they will be there in different form. And CRM is one of them. Because I was saying, like, hey, if my emails are stored somewhere, if my messages with customers are stored somewhere, if I can go back and I can, let's say, I took notes even with using pen and paper the old way, which I do, by the way, and
Mhm.
then I, maybe scan them with a phone and put them on a Google Drive or OneDrive, whatever that is. My theory is, like, why do I still need a CRM? Because probably the AI will have a all these sources in one place, and then I don't have really to go and create an opportunity, and then I go and start to update this opportunity and say, hey, like Jonathan messaged me and he said let's meet next Tuesday, and then
Mhm.
I go and again I say, hey, like Jonathan said he's waiting his colleagues to come back from vacation to
Yeah.
to take the demo. You know what I mean, right? So I was
Yep.
telling them the data is there. Why do we need to take it somewhere else? Am I thinking too much futuristic about
No, no, no,
the
no.
CRM?
You're right. Like this world, and I don't want to speculate because again, I have my own thoughts in this. Like when when again you think about the concept of why we have a CRM in the first place, it's made for humans to enter in data, literally. And it's also, I'd say the second part is it's meant to have humans enter in data based on a business process because Salesforce is built around the sales process, right? You
Right.
have the opportunity stages that's all built on the sales process stages. So there's an interesting world where there is a possibility to where if you take out the need of a human putting in data and you can have AI understand the process and be able to update them where you need to go, it then has the question of, do we need a CRM still? So it's a very good question. I don't know where it's going to go. Like my hunch is that the new world in the future is going to look way different to where either Salesforce and HubSpot are going to have to majorly change how they're doing things, or it's going to go to a world where it's just not needed as much. I don't know where it's going to go, but I think it's fascinating to think about. Again, first principle thinking, why do we have a CRM in the first place? And do we have to use that to do what we need to do? And the answer is no. So, but the problem and challenge is that most people are like, we're at Momentum, we use Salesforce because it's the technology is not there yet to say we can just rip out Salesforce and not
Yeah.
use it anymore,
Right. It's
But
not
the
there. Yeah.
future state is that is a possibility, which I know Salesforce isn't dumb. They know this. So like they're gonna be aware of this and make sure they can be the chosen place for people to go. And it makes sense because they have all the interactions, they have all the information, they have this huge cloud thing. Like they're set up for it. They just got to make sure they can do it. So it'll just be the question of if that's the focus for them.
Yeah. And which part of the sales process do you think, can be overtaken by AI, Jonathan? Completely, totally, like no human interaction.
Yeah, good question. It depends on the industry and products. I think that there's a lot of different ways it could go, Um, yeah, it really depends. And it also depends on how nitty-gritty it is. Cause like as AI gets more and more and more out there, if everyone has access to the same tools, the one difference is the human. That's the difference. It's going to be the genius of the human in the middle of it. So I don't know, to be honest with you. Because like let's just say, for example, strawberries. If you're a strawberry seller, you're probably going to be eradicated because AI can do the discovery, it can do the fulfillment, it can do the questions, it can ask you stuff, it can sell it all. Like even real estate, I see a world where let's just imagine future state. You have like a Jarvis type experience from Marvel, and you have this hologram you can walk into a house, and AI can answer every question you want, take you through every room. The question is, do I need a real estate agent anymore?
Mhm.
No. Like it's the same thing with like Waymo. Like Waymo's here and it takes out humans from being Lyft and Uber drivers. It's like I never thought I would take a car with a stranger, let alone with no driver whatsoever, but I did and I have. So it's like we don't know yet. We don't know as buyers and consumers what we do like or don't like with AI. So the whole linchpin of this is assuming that people are just going to love working with AI, and I don't think we know that yet. We don't know where we're going to like AI or not. So they may want to buy a house from AI, but they may want to have a human. No, it's like this is a weird thing. Like AI could literally do all of it. The question is, do we want it to? That's the question.
I've seen you repeated this multiple times today, Jonathan, but I believe this is as much as people they think it's deep, but it's also simple. First principle, right? So, in my opinion, right? So, because we need to try things, like we will never know if we don't try. And to your point, like, yeah, probably if you bring someone and tell them, yeah, to use any of the technologies that we have today, 20 years ago, they'll tell you, no, hell no, I'm not doing this, right? But
Yeah.
because they are afraid, they don't believe, and I always tell people, like, us as a humans, we have this self mechanism of kind of defending the status quo. We don't like to try new things. I tell people like you lose nothing by trying. And yeah, if it doesn't work, throw it away. If it works, fine. That's good. Let's double down and see how we can make it better. And this is, I think, how when we talk about GTM, and this is why I'm a little bit kind of have people that don't agree sometimes with me.
Uh,
I tell them like especially when it comes to playbooks, Jonathan.
mhm.
And now they're saying, yeah, like let's digitize this playbook with AI. And telling them, guys, okay, you can try, but you need to find like new ways of doing things, because I think the AI have opened a lot of possibilities on both sides for the buyers as well as the sellers, and we need to
Mhm.
think in a new perspectives. And I think what you're doing with momentum, like also like combining all these things, all these sources, I call them sources of truth, because
Yes.
in my opinion, I'm not sure if in the future this will be possible, and I know like there will be some privacy things there. You know,
Probably,
I
yeah.
yeah, so I believe, if a sales rep have kind of a mic, and even from the tone that the customer is using when speaking,
Mhm.
if there's camera, which is not possible, but maybe there'll be another way. Maybe at the time being we can describe like, hey, like he was nervous, and maybe she was like her voice was like a little bit not happy. And then all these things, we would be able to feed it to the AI, and AI would tell us, okay, you know what, like probably if it detects, let's say, I said the deal will close in 3 weeks from now, but based on all these descriptions from messaging, from emails, I mean, messaging, even what the sales rep is telling me or whatever, he have devices that captured that. No, still there is work
Mhm.
to be done. The deal is not done yet. There's more things to be done, right? So this is where I imagine things would be going in the future. But to your point, we need to think first principle. So um,
Yes.
it's like really engaging discussion with you, Jonathan, today. But
Thank you.
if before we close, like usually I ask two traditional questions. Anything you want to leave us with today? I mean, anything maybe I should have asked you and you wanted to highlight it, I didn't do that. And of course, where people can get in touch and know more.
No, you did a great job. So thank you for that. The best place to go is momentum.io. You can get a copy of the book. We have a 200 plus prompts library. If you like to do prompting, I wrote all of them. So if you want to use some
Nice.
prompts that I wrote personally, there's all there. And then there's the GTMAIacademy.com where I just teach of how to do this kind of stuff as well. But nothing but a pleasure to be here. Appreciate you very much.
Great. Thank you very much, Jonathan. So the links will be in the show notes. And thank you very much for the time. I know how busy it can get, especially on a book launch day. So thank you
Yeah.
again for giving me the time today, Jonathan. And this is how I end my episodes. This is for the audience. Guys, if you are new here, thank you for joining. I hope you enjoyed. Please subscribe and share with your friends and colleagues. If you are one of the fans that keeps coming again and again, thank you very much for the support. Thank you for the feedback. Thank you for pushing also the podcast in the Apple top 200 podcast charts. October was fantastic. We were at the same time, simultaneously in the top 200 charts. I think we crossed 11 countries by the end of the month. This cannot happen without you
Nice.
guys. So I really appreciate that. And as I say always, stay tuned. We have a lot more coming. So see you very soon. Thank you. Bye bye.
Hit that subscribe button, share the show with your tech savvy friends and fellow entrepreneurs, and leave us a review on your favorite podcast app. Your support means the world to us.